other stories now in the African continent. We see the Kenya's economy there grew by about 5.2% in the second quarter of this year. We have
Kenya is experiencing some of the fastest growth in sub-Saharan Africa, and it's very strong performance.
Now Kenya might be Singapore 2.0. This East African country, famous for its oil reserves, is always an attractive shot for trade and investments. Now, taking notes from the economic enhancement in Singapore, Kenya will govern the overall economy of Africa. That sounds promising, right? Well, let's see what Kenya brings to the table this time. Back then, Africa was famous for poverty and hunger. The pictures of starving children from Africa have always been food for a cry in the rest of the world. Starting from the age of colonization, Africa had a hard time in the geopolitical world, whether in terms of economy or internal conflict. The scenes are nothing new now. Despite being home to the world's youngest and fastest growing population, Africa's economic expansion is estimated to lower to 3.8% in 2023 from 4.1% in 2022 due to a decrease in foreign investments and falling exports, despite the production. Prices of essential commodities are rising significantly in African countries due to supply chain disruptions and the setback caused by the invasion of Russia on Ukraine in 2022, which sharply increased the prices of essential food items and energy in the continent. The value of the national currencies in the African Union is significantly decreasing against the dollar, which is putting Africa under inflationary pressure. For example, Angola, an oil-dependent country in Africa, strives to diversify its economy amidst mounting debt, primarily owed to China. Apart from that, many countries are on the verge of collapse amidst the civil wars, killing thousands. The world cannot ignore the fact that poverty is engulfing the African countries. It is said to expand its dead hands towards more regions as a fall of 1.4% in 2023, after taking the mean 1.6% in 2021, and 2022 is expected in the per capita income of the citizens. The adverse weather events have a significant part to play in this crisis as well. But where should Africa make a change? Although Africa is one of the most resourceful continents in the world, it is fragile in many ways. The first and foremost reason for this is the closed economic culture that the African Union follows. A closed economy simply means an economic system that resists the inflow of trade and investment, along with barricading the exports. Even though Africa has plenty of oil reserves, it resists exporting them into the global market, making the Middle East the global power in the energy sector. The ethnic conflicts and the resulting civil wars also have an immense role to play in the deprived nature of Africa. The ethnic-related violent political conflicts in Africa can be traced back to the 1960s. However, there have been no preventive measures or agreements that aim to set a benchmark for it. This never-ending cycle of ethnic conflict is what makes the economic setback of Africa much more severe. And that is where African countries should make a change. The change should start within themselves. Apart from that, the measures taken by the governments and stakeholders to open the economy will greatly improve African countries' financial situation. And now, who will set the fire for such a switch? When all the countries in sub-Saharan Africa are running for breath, one country is taking all its potential out to make a difference. And that is none other than Kenya. Economic and political forces are coming along to put the continent's seventh largest nation in a relatively favorable position. While the GDP rates of other powerful countries like Nigeria have significantly decreased since 2015 due to plummeting crude prices, Kenya is setting the bar too high. Kenya is making remarkable progress in major investments in three key areas: institutions, integration, and infrastructure. The ultimate aim is to make the country an open economy where companies from around the world can invest and contribute to its GDP. While intense capitalism, electricity shortages, and inadequate investment are taking the life out of South Africa, Kenya is experimenting with the unknown that can make a change just like Singapore did to Asia. Is Kenya the Singapore of Africa? Kenya's journey was nothing shorter than a revolution. Kenya has come a long way from a country grappled with poverty and political turmoil to a rising economic power. The regional average of GDP growth for 8 consecutive years in Kenya is above 5%. Kenya recently surpassed Angola to become the third largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa, with Nigeria and South Africa above it. These statistics explicitly hint at the economic surge happening in Kenya in the past decade. Kenya's potential can be measured in terms of its contribution to various fields. That is why Kenya is counted as a counterpart of Singapore in Africa. Singapore was counted as a country that can channel inclusive growth into Asia. Many multinational corporations, such as Microsoft, Wipro, Google, etc., have already established their presence in this nation, which has slowly transformed into the business hub of Asia. Singapore boasts the world's most favorable business environment for the next 15 years, stated the Economist Intelligence Unit in one of their reports. It is a wake-up call for Kenya, as this African nation has many similarities with Singapore in Asia. Kenya has geographical advantages, just like Singapore, which has a vast coastline along the banks of the Indian Ocean. This coastline not only connects Kenya to India, but also channels a smooth transport of goods and services to China and the Middle East. Kenya has been trying to revive the routes that have connected Kenya to China, India, Indonesia, North Africa, the Middle East, and Persia since ancient times, as far back as the 2nd century. Another important factor that aligns Kenya with Singapore is its interest in foreign investment. Singapore is known for welcoming foreign businesses, making it one of Asia's biggest financial centers that attract foreign investments. Many multinational companies have already set up shop in this nation. That has potentially led to Singapore being the largest foreign exchange center in the Asia region, and the third largest at the global level. Kenya also recently exhibited the same potential as Singapore. In East Africa, Kenya stands as the economic powerhouse with a dynamic economic system. Kenya's economy is well connected to others in terms of investment and trade, making it the central hub for economic, commercial, financial, and logistical activities in East Africa. According to the World Bank, Kenya has a favorable business environment. It ranks 56th globally and 4th in Africa in terms of ease of doing business. As a result, Kenya has invested significantly in infrastructure development, particularly in the expansion of transport networks such as highways, railways, and ports. Kenya has a diverse economy, with key sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, services, and technology contributing to its GDP. At the same time, Kenya is emerging as a technology hub in Africa, particularly in the area of mobile technology. The country has seen remarkable success in mobile money services, with the introduction of M-Pesa, a mobile phone-based money transfer and financial service. Don't you think such an inclusive effort will soon elevate Kenya to the status of an upper-middle-income country? Please comment on your thoughts. That's all for today. Remember to like the video and subscribe for more. Until we meet again,